Hello, my name is Cliff Finian Anofo, and this video will be centered around the idea of sustainable and ethical fashion, which is a term or movement that is aimed towards the betterment of the clothing industry as a whole. When I started this course, COM 101, I myself was not too familiar with the term, nor was I too aware of what the movement did. However, I was familiar with the fact that our clothes are most of the time not made within the U.S. I was aware of the fact that the clothing industry itself harbors many abhorrent practices, but I did find it really interesting to know where my clothes come from and how they are made. For me, my clothes unfortunately fall under the term fast fashion, or majority of the clothing brands that I would get my clothes from do follow this practice. Now, this practice is something that I myself was completely oblivious to before taking this course. It is essentially when a clothing company is set on manufacturing and selling clothes and garments at a fast and reasonable pace, all while ensuring that the process to make these clothes are also at a fast and reasonable pace. Now, it is important to remember that the workers themselves are most affected by this practice, for they are the ones who have to work long and grueling hours in a factory in order to get the clothes out there as fast as possible. These working conditions are most of the time horrible, and the pay wages are very low. They themselves don't really earn enough to have a proper living. So the problem lies with the fact that the workers are not only working in a tough environment, but also the fact that they don't even earn enough money to begin with. But even that is not just the problem at hand. This practice also affects the environment as well. The creation of the clothes that we wear is not easy, but it's also not eco-friendly either. Cotton, polyester, and other materials that factories use to create clothes are not good for the environment and emit a fair amount of greenhouse gases in their production. The reason for this is because chemicals such as carcinogens are put into clothes in order to essentially make the piece of attire itself. These harmful chemicals all negatively impact the environment, and the more we see of it, the more it will just continue. Sustainable and ethical fashion is a way to help lower the harmful effects of clothes production by using more organic material and less wasteful resources. It also tries to lean towards the betterment of the treatment for the workers, as well by trying to push for more policies to be put into place for both their safety and their salaries. Now, a company that I chose to look into was Patagonia, mainly because they are essentially pioneers of the sustainable and ethical fashion movement. A high amount of their garments are made with recycled fabrics such as nylon, wool, and its specific polyester. It also rejects the practice of fast fashion by embracing a more long-lasting, high-quality, and reusable way of creating clothes. Patagonia also tries to push for less purchases to be made regarding their products, because the more purchases that are made means more clothes must be made, and thus more materials must be used. So they encourage customers to purchase less by creating the long-lasting clothes that they are accustomed to. They even have started to offer living wages to the workers to ensure that the workers are getting a fair pay from the clothes that they make and or sell. Practice of fair trade is implemented into their brand. The brand has implemented policies to lower greenhouse emissions across the board. Patagonia now also treats animals well with the practice of using leather and exotic animal hair. They also practice non-mulesed sheep. The wool that they produce comes from them. They do not use fur, angora, or exotic animal skin in their products. Global Animal Welfare Organization has shown its support for Patagonia and is now working side by side with the company to enforce more humane practices within the industry. Other companies can learn that there are ways to make money while practicing sustainable and ethical means to creating their clothes. The media has shown to portray this brand very subtly, in my opinion. As I've worked on this project, I have realized that the media is not too enticed on showing what goes on within the work environment of these factories, which to me seems fairly odd, because the story itself, in my opinion, would be able to make for a great headline, all while getting the word out there. Trying to basically immerse themselves in the environment of the daily lives of others are what seems to be eye-catchers, in my opinion. People love a good story, and being put into a scenario and showcasing the effects and lives of these workers is in itself a great story to tell. For it represents the environment that others are put into on a daily basis that many people themselves cannot relate to. I myself would personally hope for a more sustainable and ethical future of clothing. I don't really consider myself too hung up on fashion myself, so I wouldn't really mind a change in how clothes are made, especially if it doesn't necessarily mean that the core of what we find interesting about clothes in general doesn't have to change. Fashion can still be present and still exists in clothes, and I myself will not really mind that at all. But that's just me. Thank you guys for watching, and if you want to hit that like button, you're more than free to. But if not, then have a good rest of the day, guys, and see you later.